Frontier episode 4 through 6. Last time we watched 1 through 3, first ever time watching Frontier, and we were watching the English dub. It has been quite a bit. I'm excited to get back into it. We got introduced to all the characters last time, as that is how the beginning of a series works. Imagine that. We kind of know the gimmick, we know a little bit about the world, and I'm a fan of the dynamics so far. Although thinking on it some more, I do think it feels a bit rushed into, like they're trying to speed through the beginning part, where I think Adventure had a very nice pace to it. But I guess it's because this is the 4th season of the anime. They probably don't want to dwell too much on it because, we've already had it previously. But it does feel like the kids just kind of accept it quite quick, which kind of feels a bit lazy. The main character makes sense because of his personality of being a bit more laid back and just wanting to leave his boring life. But the others, not as strongly. Can't even believe that they would just go along with it. That was something I was just thinking about a little bit compared to previous seasons. So I think that is a bit of a shame, but I guess they don't want to be redundant with things that have already been done before. And again, it does fit with the main character. I just wish that the others question stuff a bit more, and maybe they will in these upcoming episodes. Who knows? Besides future me, I guess. So we'll just get on with it. Episode 4. By the way, there's like crazy noise construction, so if any of it shows up, my bad. I can't really do anything about that. I've been waiting a long time to do this because of that specifically, but let's go. Alright, I am back. Episode 4 is done with. We're going to just walk through it. At the start, Rika was talking about, because she's the narrator in the dub, same voice actress, right, in character. She said it trained back to reality, and I thought that was interesting phrasing. It could mean nothing, but it does play back into how the main character was, right, with being bored, wanting an escape from his boring everyday life, the repetition of everything. So, interesting phrasing given that. And then we saw Koji. I think it's Koji. We saw him on the road once again, away from everyone else. But it looked pretty cozy going through the forest that way. Big fan of trains, so it was interesting. We saw different versions of Trailmon, actually, because I think I've only seen 2 different versions myself before, so the one we saw looks kind of like a mole later on. It was pretty cute. But it made me want to ride a train. It made me want to really, really bad. I've got to do it one day. Is it Takuya? I want to say it's Takuya. Again, it's hard when they give 2 characters T names. Yeah, it's Takuya. Thankfully, I did not mix it up this time. It's going to happen in the future. It is definitely going to happen in the future where I mix up Takuya with someone else. Whether that be Takaru or Takado. Yeah, but we saw him and Zoe interacting some more. And yeah, exact dynamic I expected. I'm pretty sure there's even an episode, because I compared them to Ash and May previously and how they act. I'm pretty sure there's an episode where the exact same thing happens with Ash and May, where they go different paths for a situation. I don't remember in that one who was right, but probably happened with Misty too in a cave, I want to say. More fun there. She obviously got the correct way. As soon as I saw that it was in a forest area, I kind of knew it was coming because, again, I have seen some of the spirit evolutions before, so I could kind of guess, okay, this is where, if you know, you know, right? Where we will see the fairy, Kazamon, which I think they pronounce really weird in the dub. I had to listen to multiple times because it sounded like they were saying Kazumon. I'm like, that is not what the name is. But again, it's just weird pronunciation, I think, because then they said it differently later. It's like, oh, Kazamon. Yeah, that is what I remember it being. or what I thought it was, because Kazu is from Tamers, so that's why it weirded me out. There was a line that JP said, because he obviously follows her because he's trying his best. Not going to get him anywhere, but he will be used. He said a line in the dub. It's like I'm the beef and he's the jerky about Takuya, and I'm taking that. I'm going to steal it. I'm going to use it in any situation I can. And then he's made a lot of food references this episode, which I don't remember him making much previously. Obviously, he's obsessed with food, so they didn't have him with this chocolate this time. So instead, at least from what I remember, making references fits well with his very large personality. We did have the food from the Floramons, which their voices, I think I might have shot myself if I had to listen to it any longer, but we got some brain food from them. That's got to be a fetish. I feel like that definitely changed something in someone. Somewhat disturbing. I do not think I would consume that personally. I don't really know what the genetic or data makeup is of a Floramon, so I don't really want anything from there. I don't know how they operate. The Mushroom Mon brothers, as soon as they started talking, I heard one of them, and I'm like, that is Davis. That is Davis. And yeah, it is. So that was nice, being able to hear that voice actor again, outside of just being the narrator of Tamers. She slapped one of them too, Zoe. She slapped one of the Mushroomons. I can't remember which one, but she slapped one of them. I was a bit shocked by that. Human on Digimon violence you don't get to see too often, unless it's Ken punting Wormmon over and over again. And I could tell the spirit fake out was coming. I imagine most people did too, because I mean the opening kind of spoils some things. So based off just the imagery, you should kind of know that that is where the fairy-esque Digimon is going to appear. And it was not being given to him. it's just, there's no way. But Spirit Fake Out, expected to come. It's still nice, though. I was right with JP being the last one to get one. That's what I assumed in episode 1, I think. Or 2, I can't remember, but just based off of how he acts, I assumed he was going to be the last one to get one. And here it comes. We might get it next episode. We could get it in an episode after, but I think it's going to be next one because they seem to be giving it every single episode. Again, getting it out the way really quick. They don't even want to wait on it. I think after we get them all, we're going to have maybe some chilled out episodes. And then we're going to get more plot relevant stuff because we still don't really know our full purpose besides, again, like the fractal code stuff they want us to rebuild. Speaking of that, I'll get to that later about some confusion there. Kazumon, cool spirit evolution as usual. Just great music all around with it. There's a really cool part where as she's beating them up, you can see like the reflection of the sky and then the Mushroomons as they're jumping at her, and I thought that looked really, really, really sick. Again, the animation is just pretty solid. It still has some goofy stuff in it. It comes with the territory. Not a bad thing. I like it. It's charming. But that part is really, really cool. She did a love tap when they combined to make Woodmon, which is where some of the confusion starts. And I'll get to that again later. But the love tap, that would change something in someone, I think, too. As a kid, that would have changed something in me. How was her ass not bleeding? That's a question. Woodmon's death was pretty brutal too. Shot straight through the skull and then stabbed and then shot right through it. Really, really gnarly. It made me kind of like Koji a bit more, but again, I still don't like that spirit evolution. I just think it does not look good, personally. And then after Woodmon, here's where the confusion starts. After Woodmon is defeated, turns into fractal code to be absorbed, the Mushroomons reappear. So my confusion is this, because this hasn't happened before, unless I wasn't paying attention, but I thought the fractal code, it wasn't just like, oh, it is part of them, but like to gain it, you have to destroy them. So it doesn't make sense to me if the fractal code was part of the Mushroomons, well, or part of the Woodmon, but the Woodmon can only be made when becoming like the Mushroomons join together to be Woodmon. So I don't really understand how that works. How they turn back into the Mushroomon after. It doesn't make any sense to me. The Woodmon died, so they should die too, the Mushroomons. But no, they're fine. It doesn't make sense to me, with at least what we've seen from the fractal code yet. Unless it's like, oh, the dark energy that was given to them, because there was a mention of who the main villain was, who the one who leads all the darkness. I can't remember who the hell they said, but we got like a name drop. But I guess that could be like because the corruption that allowed the power up to go, and it was just the destruction of the power up to release the corruption. But again, that doesn't make sense to me. I get that they were being controlled, right? Mind being led astray by evil temptation. But to be able to get the fractal code from what we've seen so far, it means the actual Digimon's destruction. So don't really understand that, because it's basically like you took away a Jogress from them, kind of. You took away a Jogress from them, which would be them, right? If they're destroyed in that form. Or if the form breaks, why would that mean that then the Woodmon's destroyed? Because we've seen previously, right, where Digimon jump out of the Jogress, right? Or the DNA, Digivolution. And it's like, oh, now they're back to their rookie, or they're back to their child stage. And they just don't have enough energy to go back up to it. But this was like actual destruction. This was like murder. So it doesn't make sense to me. Very convenient that it worked out that way for them. It doesn't really make sense. Kids show though, so it's not that big of a deal. Again, that just does not make any sense to me. I think I explained it well. They combined together, they died while combined together, but then they were fine after, but then the fractal code was absorbed. So if that's the case, why haven't they just been absorbing the fractal code from the enemies without killing them? I guess because it's the difference between the pure evil ones that are like of their own accord or made by the Dark Master, and then ones that are corrupted by him. But again, why would they then ever corrupt anyone to put the fractal code in? Why wouldn't they just always put the fractal code in his own made? It doesn't matter. Fun episode. Got to see some disturbing things in this one. And there were some laughs in there too. Rika felt sorry for JP at the end. Again, because she's the narrator, not to cause confusion, but not a bad one. Honestly, gave more questions than answers with this one and how things work. Will they be explained? Probably not. Okay, on to episode 5. I think this is better than episode 3, by the way. Episode 4, it just had cooler scenes in it. Very confused, though. Okay, we are done with episode 5. Not a fan of that one. I think that is not a good episode. The previous weakest one, I still think is good overall. That was episode 3. I think this is just not a good episode. It's not bad, but this is a 5 out of 10 if I've ever seen one. There just isn't really much to say. It did serve the purpose of giving us JP's spirit evolution, right? Beetlemon. I'm not a fan of Beetlemon's design. I think the proportions are what I don't like about it. They just seem a bit off to me. If the proportions were adjusted, I think I would be okay with it. It's a fine design. I can't remember what Digimon it is, but there's another beetle Digimon that has kind of like a common rider scarf around its neck that I think looks way better. Much prefer that one. I forget its name, but that's more my speed. Also, Sneemon is an awful name. It's just a terrible Digimon name. Sneemon. It just... Oh man, that is just a bad name. Kind of also doesn't tell you anything about the Digimon, I guess, besides maybe it's like Snip, but the Snip is taken off. Sneemon. Uh, yeah, not a lot to say. There was a part where the Kokuamons who were being forced into labor for the Goblimons, they were talking about getting scared from feet pictures. That's memorable, I guess. There's probably art of that out there somewhere in the world. I thought the battery lunches, it also got a smile out of me. But yeah, for the most part, there just is not much to say about this episode. Kind of goes by. Not much character on character interaction in this one, really. It's whatever. We do get a silhouette of someone at the end, which we will see in the next one. We do have all the spirit evolutions now, so I guess which one is my favorite? Kumamon. I think Kumamon is the coolest one. And maybe we'll get to see all four of them spirit evolve next time, so it'll be all four lined up. I like how we had 3 this time. Yeah, not much to say about this episode. Kind of a disappointing one. It's a shame that this is the one that JP gets his spirit evolution in when it's like pretty not memorable, but the little Kakuamons were kind of cute. On to the next one. Okay, episode 6 done with. I didn't even realize Koji wasn't even in the last one. It didn't even click with me at all. I think this one is better than 5, but I don't think it's as good as 4 or the first 4 episodes of the series. Basically, we're just looking for a meal, get hired because we're desperate, have no money. They turn on us. We fight the enemy. We learn, enemy has 2 evolutions, side-by-side evolutions he can switch between. And I wonder if he's actually a Digimon because he had the stone statue thing instead of a Digivice, so he's probably an actual Digimon instead of a human that can just switch between them two. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't think that was possible, so we are left with a lot of questions there. Him kidnapping the women for the fractal code is pretty funny. I think this is also the first time environmental fractal code has been taken that we've seen, because we know before that you had to defeat enemies for it, so multiple ways to obtain the fractal code, I guess. So the heroes would have no reason for that because they wouldn't want it, because they're not trying to destroy stuff, so they would want it back now, obviously. From Grumblemon. Yeah, I don't know. They're just. I feel like this is another one where there isn't much to say. There was some cool visual stuff, like the sideways mountain. That's like fun gag stuff, having to go up it sideways, and then I'm sleeping sideways as well. All right moment with Zoe and JP involving her skirt. Although I don't really like that she hit JP. How could she do that? How could she slap? Also, Zoe's been jobbing like crazy. It feels like she is the weakest link of the team. I didn't mention it the past 2 times, but in her own episode when she got the spirit evolution, she lost. And then in 5, she was running away from the enemies too, that I would have thought would have been much weaker than her. So she's just on jobbing duty. The Kumamon icicle Dan on the side for them to be able to hang on was kind of neat. Was not expecting that. And I know the name now that they, I think, mentioned before, Cherubimon. Hurricane touchdown. Like at first, I thought for sure he said it, Sarubi or Tarubi. So I actually had to listen to it back a few times. I'm like, oh, Cherubimon. I'm pretty sure. I don't know though, because the dude's accent in the dub is jacked. So obviously, if it was subtitled, it'd be very easy to tell, but could not because of that. This wasn't a bad episode. This was all right, but again, it's kind of 2 weakish episodes back to back. This one is better than the last. Last one was just close to being bad, I think. I think this is the first technical cliffhanger ending we've had so far too, in terms of the fight not really being over, but it could be, right? It could be gone by the time they all recover, so then he'll just have to be someone we chase down a bit later, but who really knows until that happens. I think overall this batch was much weaker than the original, even though I do think episode 4 is probably the best episode so far. I just thought it was pretty solid with everything. But I think this has been the weakest batch given the other two just not being very strong. That is 4 through 6 a Frontier for the English dub out of the way.